All truth passes through three stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. A pessimist is an optimist in full possession of the facts. The majority of men are not capable of thinking, but only of believing, and are not accessible to reason, but only to authority. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone, and if he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom, for it is only when he is alone that he is really free. Talent hits a target no one else can hit, genius hits a target no one else can see. Marrying means to grasp blindfolded into a sack hoping to find out an eel out of an assembly of snakes. We can regard our life as a uselessly disturbing episode in the blissful repose of nothingness. You are free to do what you want, but you are not free to want what you want. We seldom think of what we have but always of what we lack. Therefore, rather than grateful, we are bitter. A high degree of intellect tends to make a man unsocial. Man is never happy, but spends his whole life in striving after something which he thinks will make him so. Just remember, once you're over the hill you begin to pick up speed. Just remember, once you're over the hill you begin to pick up speed. Education perverts the mind since we are directly opposing the natural development of our mind by obtaining ideas first and observations last. This is why so few men of learning have such sound common sense as is quite common among the illiterate. The shortness of life, so often lamented, may be the best thing about it. If we suspect that a man is lying, we should pretend to believe him, for then he becomes bold and assured, lies more vigorously, and is unmasked. What people commonly call fate is mostly their own stupidity. Happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves. For all external sources of happiness and pleasure are, by their very nature, highly uncertain, precarious, ephemeral and subject to chance. The person who writes for fools is always sure of a large audience. The tallest oak tree once was an acorn that any pig could have swallowed. The two enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. The universe is a dream dreamed by a single dreamer where all the dream characters dream too. To use many words to communicate few thoughts is everywhere the unmistakable sign of mediocrity. To gather much thought into few words stamps the man of genius. The wise have always said the same things, and fools, who are the majority, have always done just the opposite. The fruits of Christianity were religious wars, butcheries, crusades, inquisitions, extermination of the natives of America, and the introduction of African slaves in their place. The assumption that animals are without rights, and the illusion that our treatment of them has no moral significance, is a positively outrageous example of Western crudity and barbarity. Universal compassion is the only guarantee of morality. Religion is the masterpiece of the art of animal training, for it trains people as to how they shall think. Almost all of our sorrows spring out of our relations with other people. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. If anyone spends almost the whole day in reading, he gradually loses the capacity for thinking. This is the case with many learned persons. They have read themselves stupid. To overcome difficulties is to experience the full delight of existence. After your death you will be what you were before your birth. Women remain children all their lives, for they always see only what is near at hand, cling to the present, take the appearance of a thing for reality, and prefer trifling matters to the most important. The more unintelligent a man is, the less mysterious existence seems to him. He who does not enjoy solitude will not love freedom. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. Genius and madness have something in common: both live in a world that is different from that which exists for everyone else. Rascals are always sociable, more's the pity. And the chief sign that a man has any nobility in his character is the little pleasure he takes in others' company. Hatred is an affair of the heart, contempt that of the head. I know of no more beautiful prayer than that which the Hindus of old used in closing: "May all that have life be delivered from suffering." Great men are like eagles, and build their nest on some lofty solitude. A happy life is impossible. The best that a man can attain is a heroic life. There is something in us that is wiser than our head. It is difficult to keep quiet if you have nothing to do. The safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. People of wealth in the so-called upper class suffer the most from boredom. Always to see the general in the particular is the very foundation of genius. Man is the only animal who causes pain to others with no other object than wanting to do so. Mostly it is loss which teaches us about the worth of things. Wealth is like seawater: the more we drink, the thirstier we become, and the same is true of fame. The greatest of follies is to sacrifice health for any other kind of happiness. Our life is a loan received from death, with sleep as the daily interest on this loan. When you look back on your life, it looks as though it were a plot, but when you are into it, it's a mess, just one surprise after another. Then, later, you see it was perfect. Thus, the task is not so much to see what no one yet has seen, but to think what nobody yet has thought about that which everybody sees. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. In the whole world there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life, it will be the solace of my death.